Okay, being October 8th, we will open up the sewer commission meeting at 4:30. Elaine Fiore, aye.
Bill Watson, aye.
Brian Donahoe, aye.
Okay, anybody have a chance to look at meeting minutes?
I did go over, which one do you want to do, the 17th and the 28th, 27th?
I actually haven't. No,
Okay.
Okay,
other
then we'll
things,
follow-
yeah,
That's
I'm sorry.
okay. Uh,
Many things going on.
commitments, final read for commitment number 2509 for $128.20.
I move to, approve that.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then we have, abatement for, it must be Indian Pond Country Club valve. The heating system was stuck open. Water did not go into sewer for $3,939.69.
$3,939.
Yes,
Okay.
69 cents.
Do we need to approve that? I
Yeah,
make a motion to approve that.
Yeah, so this-
Something to us.
This is a pressure valve, right? Some kind of pressure valve, PCC.
I'm not familiar with this one.
IPC. Or do you want to get more information on it?
Just seems like. I don't know, is this a business or something? Is that
Indian Pond Country Club.
Oh, it's Indian Pond, okay.
Yeah.
That's, no, I,
The heating
I see, I'm
system valve.
thinking PCC valve, see,
Oh,
kind of a valve that stay open. All right, that makes sense. All right, there are no stupid questions, see?
no, there isn't.
Um. Didn't go in the sewer. I mean,
We can hold it till next meeting.
yeah, let's hold it. I mean,
We've been
that's,
meeting so often that it's not won't be long.
Okay, you want to hold that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have the abatement for 2 Sunset Road. Apparently, the water control mechanism in the bathroom toilet was broken and running consistently.
Did anyone look into that any further?
I
I didn't have a chance to.
haven't heard anything more, and we don't have an amount to abate. So I think we have to hold that one
Okay.
as well.
Yeah.
And,
There was a question why I went two quarters.
right,
yeah, that was from last time, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember. Right. Okay. It was a rental or something.
And plus, you're right, I did look at that part of it. There were no figures on it.
right.
But
Right.
we don't know what they were asking for. Okay.
Then we have a memo here about 9 North Street. It came in today, 10/8, so we can discuss it because we were unaware of it within the 48 hours. Apparently when they were doing the final read on the, for closing, they, probably, the account wasn't closed out for the September bill run, and they want to remove the sewer charges without permission.
So there's no use, they just basically say, the account closed, but bill went out
For the $15.
for the
Yeah,
days
that
after.
seems, I'll make a motion to accept this
Okay.
correction, yeah. Okay, ready, all you need?
Yes, you'll second.
Was that, yes, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll take care of
Come
that.
from Stacy, that's why,
Apparently the weather is close with my son.
there's a difference.
You want to
Sorry.
email Stacy, or you want me to?
Yeah, copy on it.
I can respond.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I know you have a lot to talk about, Dave, so why don't we start with you and pick, whichever numbers you want to start with.
All right, so everything in the plant is fine. My priorities, I guess, well, this one's the closest one to me, Cushman Farms. So they're looking at, we're given some plans. They're looking at revisiting that Cushman Farms area, and I don't know if you're familiar with the location, but I might as well set out the
Is
set.
that
of
Maple
plans.
Street?
Copper Beach?
Yeah, it's the street that's beside.
Oh,
That's all right. So you come in from the Cancun area,
This the
come down
elementary
Hilltop.
school,
Yeah,
the intermediate school,
exactly.
expressway, Copper Beach Drive, this down.
Yeah, and they're looking at developing this stretch of land and it backs into Marion Drive.
Okay.
So what they've done, and this is the second revision of plans. I think they initially
I
looked
think I
at.
remember that they were on the wrong side of the track for us to,
Mhm.
our stub had ended here and then everything here on this side was high pressure.
Yes,
But to resolve that, they were talking with Bob about putting in a high pressure system on that side,
Yeah.
tying with the high pressure line.
pump system. Yep. So.
Okay, I'm sorry, good.
Yep, no, that's okay. So I think the last revision, when Bob was around, they were looking at putting individual house lots. And it looks like this is more like maybe commercial properties. There's two buildings, unless it's residential with the two buildings. But what they had shown on the plans was putting an on-site treatment system in.
Okay. They want to do their own.
So I just want to at least kind of pass this around to you so you get an idea, but it looks like they were gonna put an on-site treatment system in this area. And have a SAS, a sort of erosion system down on this end. So
And they want to do that while they not try to tie into our system?
that's what's been proposed on this set of plans.
Okay.
And there's,
So
when they
expect them
send,
to
when they
do-
send me these, it basically says, you know, this is a request for review of plans for Cushman Farms. So if we have anything to ask or review or any documentation.
They're not on our
send them.
main. You know, they're part of a high pressure mains and feed throughs, but
Yeah, so we have a pump station over here that services the schools.
Yeah.
It's a rather small pump station. It just services the schools. The tub itself that the pumps are in are only, I don't even know how many gallons they are, but it's a fairly small tub.
Hmm.
And the wet well's only probably 8 or 10 feet deep. So it's a relatively small system. But I don't know if they'll
they'd have to travel all the way back in and
come
would
across.
probably, I don't think it would be all gravity all the way. They'd have to pump up too, wouldn't
This is a low point over here in the neighborhood, so I would
they?
think,
This was a little lower, but maybe not.
I would think that they might be able to, but
Okay.
I didn't know if it's something that the SWAT commission wanted to put together any sort of questions, letters, request for information, options for them, anything like that, before I just pass it through and say no comment.
I'd like to think that if there was a way for them to connect that would be less expensive than them building their own, that we would say there's available capacity.
Well, plus the maintenance and maintaining that, not gonna be cheap.
Because before there was a lot of discussion about the density and everything else.
Mhm.
If they're putting their own treatment plant in, density isn't an issue anymore. You know, they're gonna build the size that they're permitted to build
Mhm.
without sewer. So if we can get some revenue from it and it's
It's obviously gonna be a 40B project to put it in such a tight footprint.
close to the train station too,
Wasn't this a 40B somewhere in the past?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, this is, I recall this, but there's no sewer anyways. We only have a force main, that's what you're talking about, coming up.
Yeah, we get up to here with the gravity feedback out on this side, but not on that side. We know there's no sleeves underneath there for us. So the talk was that he might be able to tie into the high pressure main,
Which you can do, but,
you know,
do it all the time, actually, but,
and then pump it however that, I'm not sure how that works, but.
unless you get a sleeve on you can always get a sleeve under the track. I mean, I guess the question I'm having, how big is it? It's an environmental question. It's really partly our issue with revenue. It's partly an environmental issue, because I think, as I'm recalling now, that's a vernal pool down here or something, right here. This is a vernal pool. We found it and this all came up, something, you know, somebody came, that's a vernal pool. So it's probably an old, whatever, but,
Yeah, it's wet down here too, right now at the southern hole.
so I mean, if it's a project that you get a septic system, I don't know we don't know how big it is really, do we? It seems like it's commercial though, it's not residential.
Yeah, I didn't see too much detail on it. It does say residential units with 2 or less bedrooms,
Okay, so it is residential.
but it doesn't, 1.5 spaces.
I mean, it must be zoned residential, I think. They look like it could be.
Yeah, I know they initially had a residential system plugged in there, but now.
I don't think it's commercially zoned up there, so they have to stick with residential.
Yeah, so
Or
just
commercial
is there
zoning.
a sheet on the septic system design? There you go. I mean, my personal opinion is anything that's in the zone that should be sewage should be on the sewer. But this doesn't meet that standard, right off the top, so that
It's close. You
it's
know, and your
close.
options being either hitting the force main on Marion Drive or coming down and doing some modifications to our Hilltop pump station.
Here's our newest line here, from Marion Drive. Yeah,
Which while he's looking for that, so there is,
because we pump into the high pressure line now, right?
yeah, where they tied into, right in that space right there,
Yeah.
is where it tees into the force main from Jones River, coming up this way. Across through the transfer station and up to Headworks.
Yeah,
So
so
they tie the new.
they would do the same thing on that side of the train track that we did on our side of it.
Mhm.
High pressure up. That's what we did, the high pressure line. There's no,
Yeah.
and anything that was on from here down would come get gravity feed down to us.
Well, I need a magnifying glass, but here's the system. It's a pretty big system. And it is a,
Reaching design calculations, yeah.
yeah,
Since
no,
She wants to put in more housing around that area, maybe they put the sleeve underneath the road.
they would.
Going under the track.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
At their cost.
That's-
Shove it down out there, will you?
I don't know where
So
our so-called MBTA line is, but
when
it should be right there.
when I had to deal with the air release valve over here on Links Way,
Mhm.
we had to bypass everything feeding to the Jones River pump station. With the septic trucks, but we also had to bypass the Marion Drive station. Keep the flows out of that, because that would have also
It was
pressurized the
also,
line.
okay, yeah, live system.
So my preference is that it would gravity flow over here and pump down Main Street
got
to
you.
the Jones River pump station, but
Well, even if,
In order
even
to
if it had to
entice-
go gravity feed to a certain point, then they'd be pumped from there, up, up.
So it's 30,000 gallons a day.
but to Elaine's point,
30,000 gallons?
to gain some more users, whether they want to Marion Drive or, Hilltop. I imagine it's come down to dollars and cents.
Yeah,
So 30,000 gallons a day is the system. So that's what, 10?
yeah, 330.
No, that's 20,
Yeah.
20, that's 100.
100 units, 100 bedrooms.
Yeah.
100 bedrooms.
Yeah, 100 bedrooms.
That's 100 bedrooms. So
Looking at the parking lot, that's probably about right.
What was it, 30,000 gallons a day?
30,000 gallons a day is the design flow for the leaching field.
If we just, so that was 110 per bedroom, so, but if we went just roughly 330 just for an EIU, that'd be 91 of them.
Yeah, times 22,000. Okay.
Yeah.
So. That's a very important thing for me.
Yeah, 130 units. Says
130 units, but it's 29,000, call it
1.5
30,000,
spaces, 130,
30,000
195 spaces.
divided by 330,
Working ratio,
so 91 times 22,000
overall population is
Is-
144 units equals 2.
91 times 22
That's the parking lot parking.
is $200,000.
I come up with more than 91 times 22,000.
It could be me, which is this my little hand here.
I'm using my phone,
Times 22
thousand.
times 91 equals, yeah, it's a bigger number, one decimal point off.
Yeah.
So,
$1 million.
yeah, so, I mean, I don't know where this is in the planning, but, we're staring a big thing in right now. So 2 million, I'd like to know more about, I mean, there's enough here, I'd like to have a chance to look at it. This comes up, this gets into the bigger question that we're talking about.
So this particular cover sheet that they assigned to it is ideally comments back to the ZBA by 10/21/24.
So
And
it's
this is
10/21.
Yeah,
So is this a 40B then if it's in front of ZBA?
yeah, it does
Alright,
look like
yes.
comprehensive permit 40B.
Okay,
So
What would you
ZBA
call-
public hearing scheduled for 11/6.
so if I recall at the town meeting, this came up somewhere in kind of a vacuum, but we had said this was only capable of being connected with the ERUs assigned to the property, right? At this time,
Before we had everything in place, yes.
right?
Now we have the
So-
leaching fields and everything.
Um,
And what would have been assigned to the property was what? Was anything put in the source system?
Right.
no, what was the problem? No, that is two different things. What we had talked about is if you're on the sewer system, which this it hasn't act, well, it is on that end, so it is a debatable question. It's not on the main sewer line, either is Copper Beach Drive, right? So
Right.
we had said that we would not entertain, and this just gets into the expansion question, something like this, beyond what its planning and zoning capacity would be. So let's assume that that's residential and there's 5 lots, okay, just for a number.
Yeah,
So 5 lots, say 440 bedrooms, 440
Yeah,
gallons,
yeah.
okay, so I'm just thinking out loud, so 440 times 5 is 2,200 gallons, not 30,000 gallons. So I'm pretty clear, we talked about this, that we would not entertain this kind of a situation as an answer to the leaching field and the expansion, was really to get those 600 left that have to hook up,
mm-hmm,
or any other legitimate connection, okay? So from that point of view, I think to be consistent, the septic systems, they're way out. However, we are in the middle of a discussion on betterments.
right.
And as far as I'm concerned, that's a big problem for me.
Agreed,
I'll speak for me.
agreed.
Giving up $2 million and we need it.
If we build that over 20 years, it's 66,000 a year. If over 30 years, it's 66,000 a year, 20 years is 100,000.
I'd like to have more chance to look at this, I mean, and we can make a
Yeah.
comment and put it in writing.
Yeah.
So,
And if we get comment back to them by 10/21.
but I am clear, the more I think about it, this, first I thought was we did talk about that. But in my mind, given the recent situation,
Right.
our business is to say, keep solving.
And that's it. I mean, it's, let's say it's over the 20 years, the life of the leaching field loan, that's 100,000 plus whatever user fees would be brought in.
So let's just keep looking at this and figure out what's really going on.
The nice thing too is if it were to go gravity feed over here and say you upgraded this pump station,
Yep.
you potentially have these people on Copper Beach that as their systems are failing, they might say, hey, let's as a neighborhood
And I
pursue
just
the
happened to bring
option
this with me for that
of
purpose.
running Copper Beach.
Because that's the neighborhood. It's yeah, that's this right here. That's this place right here, right? Right there, which was.
Yeah.
It was this this sewer getting into the high school, the schools and everything was meant to take care of this problem, because you got Second Brook right there, and Second Brook,
Right there is this lot they're
Right.
talking about, and that's
Yeah.
Cobble Beach Drive.
and I don't know which way the groundwater moving, but I would suggest it's moving right there towards Second Brook.
Yeah, and there's also a brook right here, it
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah, so that anything here is going right into the river, and that was the whole idea of this, is just
Yeah.
put apples and apples together. It's probably divided, because I know this cranberry bog goes that way. So there's probably a groundwater divide right through where they're putting it. So, I mean, yeah, it's a wastewater treatment plant. This is a 30,000 gallons. That's like a grade 4. That's up to almost a grade 4 plant.
Good bit of volume.
Great, it's a 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's over 10,000 gallons a day, right? Is that what the Title V?
Title 5 is a break, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's nitrogen.
So you're well over the
Yeah,
threshold.
so they're in a nitrogen removing system right off the top. And looking at it, it looks like it's more of a package plant. And I know where these guys got it, because I designed something for them 20 years ago. With East Bridgewater. Just,
User fees would be about 50,000 a year.
okay,
That's being very conservative, taking the 30,000 a day and dividing it in half.
I think we just gotta keep looking at it and figuring that out. I think,
Would you say the 30-year outlook would be for?
30 would be 66,733. In 20 years would be 100,100. And if we're tying it to the cost of leaching fields, if we look at that, that's 20-year.
Yeah. Good potential.
I mean, I hope the environmental folks are aware of this too, because it's a really important question. Where do you wanna go?
Are they on that,
The
that cover?
distribution list,
Yeah.
yeah, it goes to, let's see, Planning Board, Board of Health, Conservation Commission, Water Department, Sewer Department, Fire Department, Police Department, Tax Collector, Highway, Historical, and Selectments. All for review. It's kind of a standard procedure, everything runs through
Yeah, I
everyone.
mean, unless this is tripping a wetlands issue with the septic system, which I doubt it is.
And maybe that's the choice of location because some other areas are wet.
I just like to run it up the flagpole on that side too.
Yeah,
I mean, other than I'll call it selfish reasons. Go ahead.
Well, it's to help the town.
Yeah.
You know,
they were on the list not to connect, but a potential project since
Yeah.
they've been discussed.
Yeah, and I had this, that was one of the, I had that here for later, not knowing that was coming up, but it's the plan that I had done earlier on where we're looking first, like what's the stream polluting Gray's Beach? Where's the source of that?
Yeah.
And I found out from Matt, well, just by talking about the other thing. Apparently, less than a year ago, they found somebody had a bunch of donkeys in that brook, standing in that brook that goes to Gray's Beach.
You kidding?
I mean, I have to
didn't know
check
we-
it. Somebody had a little privacy, I don't know, but it was up on the Plymouth line. And that's all I know about it, but Conservation Commission got a wind of it and got them out of there.
Wow.
But they were, in there doing what they do and
You
it's
just
like,
never know, do
They
you?
were bathing.
yeah, I mean, just like everybody wants to be. I mean, this is,
self-serve donkey wash.
Nitrogen issues.
I gotta find more about that.
You
but I was
don't,
just
you gotta
like,
look for them.
Wow.
That's it, okay. Want to do
So-
that one?
The next one on the list, this, if that doesn't look familiar to you, behind the post office.
Oh, yeah,
70 Summer Street.
yeah,
Since I got on board, they were just finishing up rehabbing that building. And it looks like, from what I understand, that they're gonna look at changing it over from commercial space to more residential. So I already looked at the ERUs and they have enough on that whole, that 70 Summer Street encompasses the whole
yeah, we
complex.
printed all that, because they
Right.
bought additional
And the
capacity.
Funky Monkey and all that. So
You
there's
did buy
enough,
additional.
there's enough capacity to handle it. But what they've put in, what I noticed so far is with the water moratorium, this is part of that, that they couldn't, grow it. But they applied for a well and got the okay for a well on the property.
Wow. good.
Where
So
are they gonna put it,
now-
in the stream?
That's the source of the well.
I didn't think there was any more property down there. That backyard is basically.
The parking lot, right in the middle of the parking lot, that's what this,
Yeah, it's the backside of the lot and then where they want.
I mean, it's all gravel, that's Stony Brook, it's a gravel, most gravelly thing about
But
it.
not, this is more construction related.
You have to
They
provide,
went through the state.
they went through
for
the
it.
state to get it.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
some
right,
stuff
different
went
than
through,
ours.
so it might actually show on this, I'm not sure. It
I
shows,
was just curious, it's new because if the state's already approved it, it's already gone through the proper channels.
yeah, it looks like that was already applied for. It
All right,
looks
so
like-
how are we gonna handle that? Are we gonna have them put a water meter on their well?
So we have to do something.
And they have to provide us monthly statement?
I would think that it's gotta get read quarterly. Is that how those work?
Could we,
I haven't had to address this.
Well, I mean, we don't have a whole lot of people that are on, well,
Right. And right now, we just have a flat rate for them.
what is that based on? 333 gallons a day? Or
It was
what?
like $171 and,
A quarter?
yeah.
Right, yeah, because I know that the one that said she had there, something, it's her husband probably.
Yeah.
He was-
We can
he uses
actually-
70 gallons a day.
Discuss it at our next public hearing.
but my suggestion would be we get the same water meter the town uses for everybody.
Yeah, there's no reason why they
Just
can't
have it.
install one of those.
Yeah, and have it, I mean, maybe it's a local meter reading that we could ask the water department to look at. I don't know, they probably wouldn't do, but somehow we could.
We'd
I think
we'd
the
have
water
to
department,
go in and look at it.
Yeah.
yeah, the water department can provide them with one of their meters.
So
Sell
I
it to
talked-
them
I
and then
talked
read
to
it.
Chris that they wouldn't be involved. They'll have a meter on their line for the town line coming in. But as far as the well, water department won't supply them a meter for their well. If
Why?
they needed a meter for their well, they'd have to do it on their own and have it maintained on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I agree with that, but by the same meter,
Yeah, the
Yeah,
same
same.
vendor.
so we could have it,
Random water.
know,
Yeah, the same vendor.
so we have apples and apples.
So they're only putting a well in until town water is available to them. Is that the guess?
They're putting the well in to at least get around the water moratorium so they
Right.
can build their system. Later on, I don't know if that means they'll upsize their water line from the town, or at that point, if they have a well, they'll probably
I would think
keep
it's
using
a
it.
temporary measure.
Yeah, so, well, I would think too, that, I mean, plus that, I would think there's a lot of iron manganese. That Blackwater swamp is so high in iron and manganese area, it's the treatment of the well would probably be the big thing.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so we should look at that more
It'll
carefully,
be
but
cheaper in the future
I
to go
can
on town
imagine.
water.
Yeah.
If that's the case.
So
Okay.
some
because the
concerns,
monitoring requirements for the DEP for a non-transient public water supply is enormous. I mean, it's very costly. Because they're looking at people drinking it, and there's a lot of testing, quarterly, monthly, all that kind of stuff.
so we'd have to definitely have a meter on it. We'd have to have a way of reading it.
Which I thought if you could hook up with the town, they just drive down the street and they read the meters. You know, maybe whatever meter they put in is compatible with them and they could read it for us. Because they're the ones doing the billing.
Potentially, we had a plan on them saying, we don't want anything to do with that meter, and it might fall back to us.
Well,
But we
you're down
could
at the
pursue
pump
it.
station at town center
Yeah,
anyway.
we could check
You
it.
just- Yeah.
It's just a matter of, getting access and that sort of thing. So I kind of feel like we should have a flat rate. If we aren't given access to the meter, then
Right.
we have to charge you X amount
333 gallons a day, well,
per,
110 per unit.
per
They'll
bedroom.
get a meter in there pretty quick.
And then, yeah,
If
so
that-
you just
if
have
that's our
to,
position.
you have to have some sort of authority to be
Yeah.
able to read and access that. If
Yeah.
it's not, some sort of.
There's no perfect answer. Yeah.
Okay.
But we can vote at the next public hearing, because that's part of the rates.
And that would be. So that's 70 Summer Street.
Okay.
what's going on there? The irrigation and easements on Links Way. I met out there with Mike from the Links Way group the other day,
Okay,
Monday. And Christina from CNC. So they're just gonna have that area surveyed, so we know where our easement ends and where her property starts. And the idea behind that is we'll mulch our area, and then we'll just seed her area, and her irrigation would then spray on to cover her grassy area.
So her lawn that's
think
over our
that's-
easement, or three easements, will be her lawn and she'll mow it, but it won't be, yeah.
Yeah, so right now, say her, I'm just kind of saying this is her property at this point. Where the turtle fencing is.
Yeah.
Right? There's some irrigation lines just on this side of it. And this whole area now is all dirt from the
Yeah.
construction that happened. We have a 20-foot easement, which I imagine, say it puts you in that range. If her property ends at that easement, then I think the idea is they'll seed this area and have the irrigation spray that space, and then everything to the upstream side of that, we would just mulch.
oh, that would be a good identifier on, you know,
It would,
So there's
yeah,
no-
delineate the
yeah.
two.
But her property line doesn't go into that further over into this space?
We don't know.
Because
So
that,
without,
you could have a 20-foot easement right through the middle of the lot. So,
right,
you
so
know,
that's
so-
why they're gonna
today.
survey it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only,
Because the thing is with us, if we seed the whole thing and she only owns half of it,
Right.
then we're responsible for going up there and
Oh,
mowing
no,
that thing.
yeah, you're right.
And
That's-
we
that's
don't,
a
we
good idea
don't
to find out
need a
exactly what the
20-year
line is.
commitment for mowing grass that's not ours.
And anything beyond that's just mulch.
So that's the direction I gave CNC to have it surveyed, find out where her property ends. We'll see her spot, let the irrigation hit that, and then everything beyond that, just mulch.
the only tweak I'd give that is, as I recall, there's a gas, water, and our sewer is almost under the gas. And we have gas too, in one and in and out, right? And then we got the water over here. So I.
They're all, I would say.
If they're all in that same 20 feet, that's fine. I was just saying if it's a little farther out, make sure we get them all.
Yeah.
Just because the water department doesn't want to be the same thing, but just, that's only, just as long as we
Looking
get all
at
three
the
of them.
photos and from memory, it's all pretty much,
Okay.
it's probably a utility easement that the
There's
water.
actually two. There were
department,
two.
the Gas.
Yeah. There's actually three easements. There's two. I know the water and sewer is separate. The water was there before the sewer was there. That's, I'm sure of that, because I looked at that as from an access point of view. The gas is, I think, is inside of ours,
Oh,
but it's
okay.
it's shallow. So ours is here, back and forth, and theirs is above ours. Just happened to have a picture.
Sounds like a congested area.
Keep going, but yeah,
Surprisingly, for what looks like there'd be nothing there,
Yeah.
you know, if you just
exactly.
started digging away.
Ooh,
Well, dig safe's out there, right?
They can be very confused too. So.
So this way.
Yeah, that's it. there's the gas, here's our water. Here's our force main.
How far down is he?
oh, wow.
They're deep, they're down 7-8 feet.
Yeah.
It's over his head. No reason, it's a wide open, it's, you know, so there's
It's
the
feathered
gas,
out.
there's the water. The water is farther away from the house. Ours come underneath that, and then our other lines over here. So it's,
Jeez.
Like digging in Boston, in the streets up there.
Yeah. I didn't know, thanks.
yeah, there's a better picture,
Spaghetti.
so
Oh, yeah.
there you go. So it's, sorry, yeah, there's our force main. There's our force main, the gas goes over it, there's the water.
Yep.
It
Yep.
seems like it's more than 20 feet, that's why
Yeah.
it's like 50.
Mm,
And then our new force main that put in, comes in and ties in, that's the new one. Yeah, but underneath the water, that's the new one.
Awesome. So do you know if that water is on her property or in our?
I don't know.
In our
I
easement?
don't know.
Okay.
But this, the guess,
So,
the point, if it's off her property, then that solves the problem, but I'm almost positive. It's that easement is part of that. I'm not looking at that,
and that'll all be on the records when they
Yeah.
go to survey it
Yeah.
anyway.
just cover all the bases there.
Town buildings, how are we gonna approach getting them hooked in
Okay,
as far as billing?
okay, what it was before, I don't know why it fell off, it was managed two ways, either facilities or, each individual department, just, it would be included in their budget, and it would just be a water bill based on the same way as we would bill anybody else.
Okay.
So the billing department, which is the water department, would be billing them and sending out a water sewer bill to them.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, the water department is now billing the town for water. So,
So whenever they bill their water flow, we'll just get a sewer bill on top.
yeah, it should just be the same piece of paper like the rest of us on sewer get.
Okay, as Keith did mention it today to the different department heads at our department head meeting that to expect it coming.
Okay.
So that's starting now, going forward.
Yeah.
But
So
what about
that
looking
should
back?
roll in with this next billing cycle.
Have that, we can certainly look at that.
I think we should just, it's another,
Part
it's
of
like
the-
this project.
Yeah.
It's another piece of, it's what I think we figured out at Sun, if you look at the 25 years, it's about $1 million.
Okay.
Just, I look at it as one thing there's another thing, another thing, another thing.
And this is what it all came down to.
Okay, it's time to talk.
This is what it all came down to, Brian, is we have one office staff. You know, it was just with turnover,
A lot of turnover.
because of, fortunately, we were able to get Jeannie an office manager position and pay, so she can legitimately do some of this, but not all of it, you know, but that was it. It was just the resources to make sure that everything was kept on top of.
Yeah, I think as we get more into the bug dust, as I call it,
Like that, but
it's it's a Brianism. There's a million of them in DEP. They used to make a book. They had a book of Brianism.
oh, okay.
Bug dust. Bug dust detail. Think about bug dust. Next time you open a window and you haven't opened it for a long time, the bug dust, that's the detail. That's the level of detail we're gonna get to pretty soon.
I agree with you 100%.
Just you have to conjure this up in your mind. It makes you smile, see? But it's, because it ain't gonna be fun when you really do it.
Right, right. Okay.
Superintendent, so today we put in a pump at the Marion Drive pump station. We had a pump that failed after 900 hours of useful time on it. So today was the day we actually have two pumps back in there, fully functioning. We've got the old pump, we're gonna send back to the manufacturer and try and figure out what was going on with it, that it failed so quickly. So hopefully there'll be some recourse from that it won't be too heavy of a hit for us, because I don't feel that a pump should have failed in 2 years. So hopefully they'll stand behind it and help us
Are
out.
we on recording?
It
Yeah,
did say,
it did say we were recording.
Okay, right. I don't see anybody on,
so,
up there on the screen.
yeah, that's it from my end. Everything else is going smooth up there, so.
Okay.
Good question. I noticed, I went to the dump today and there's a Weston and Sampson truck sitting there. They're not doing anything with us, are they? Are they doing monitoring the
So-
wells at the landfill?
Yep.
I figured.
Yeah, and I don't know if they do that quarterly, monthly, biannually.
By
Every
this
now
point,
and
it's-
again, we see them, but it's not super regular.
it should be at this point, semi-annual. Twice a year, I mean,
Yeah, could be.
because there's two clusters right there. There's two couplets, I mean, right there and then a little to the left and there's another one. And,
Okay, so that leaves us to, we'll just update from the public. You done? You all set?
Yeah, just, there is another number in there, phone number for a sewer on quarterly billing, but I think Brian might want to speak to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I just was, that was just a, Bob Koska, after our hearing, grabbed me and wanted to talk about a couple things, and that was something that's a bit of an issue, I think, with Stacy and, Chris, and getting, just particularly with all of what's gonna happen with us now. They get our calls, so it's open for discussion as to a way to ensure that anyone who has a sewer question has a sewer number to call, if there's one in there, Hardy.
So I think the town got an upgraded phone system. It hasn't quite filtered through to the plant yet, but I think up here they've put in a new system. So there may be a way that
Okay.
it could be one of those, press 1 for water, press 2 for sewer,
Exactly, and even if,
potentially.
say they call the water number, like you said, press, even if it's for a time being, press 1 for sewer, press 2 for water, so at least we would get the, the calls first, and even put it on the line here, the water department's line, and if there is room on the bill for,
Well, the next thing is put on the bill very clearly.
yeah.
I don't know how the bill's set up. I know it's
saw it
set up.
on
I
the
never
back, the back of the, where it says what the fees rates are, the
Yeah.
water department, call the water department,
Oh, we
the
gotta
sewer
change
department.
that.
huh?
We'd have to change the back of the bill.
That's a good point.
Right,
Oh,
all right.
So when we
Yeah,
do
and
that,
I thought that
perfect
said it on
timing.
there.
There you go.
Okay.
Unintended consequences, and it's a good way.
And I thought that said it. And just for clarification, the start date for the new rate, they're gonna take a reading in a month. And from that date forward, it's gonna be not retro back.
correct.
Okay. that's
And
fine.
with, like you said, the proposed date is November first, yeah.
Yeah, whatever that reading is.
Right, so we'll
And I
get,
don't know if they read them all on the same day, so we might have to say whatever date your bill is read. In really November is,
yeah,
that's the start date.
So
Yeah,
we're looking-
yeah, the back
The
of the bill.
next,
we
the
got
next
that
bill
description.
read or whatever.
And I think,
Yes.
I thought it had the phone number on there as well.
yeah, that's a good
For our
idea,
department.
Yeah, so we need a motion to make this, request the bills to be changed.
probably,
So
yeah,
I'll make a motion, we request the bills to be changed with the new rates and to show clearly based on, I think, our professional staff's input, where to put the number. I mean, if it's a sewer on this side and water on this side, sewer, all sewer questions, please go to this number.
yeah,
And if it changes to a dial 1 or 2 with this new system, we can make that later.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
so
on the back of the bill,
motion. That's
like you're now, your bill you get for water, it shows the water rate and
Right.
everything. Just underneath that, it has the sewer rate,
Yeah.
and that only comes to us, the sewer rate.
Well, I see that, but it's all blank, so I never look at it. It's, yeah.
okay, so that was a motion,
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
So as far as to go forward with that process happening, how does that get addressed? Does the water department change it on their end?
That's where we talk to Stacy and find out what the process is,
Or-
because they changed their rates, so they had to have done it,
they've already,
Yes,
they already
recently.
did, so they got 3 months to implement it. And get that printed on the back of
Yeah,
that
I'm just
blank
wondering,
sheet.
oh, okay, because even though they read it on, say, 11/1, the bills don't go out for another few months.
Well,
So there's
when
enough
they, yeah,
time
when they,
to-
when they read it, it's another month before we receive the bill. And then every 3 months, every 90 days, they pick the reading, then we get it for another month. And that's why sometimes if you get a leak, it's kind of stinks. They did notify me, in my particular case, she called me, I think, within the 30 days. Oh, no, they sent me a letter saying we see an excessive use
oh,
at property. And so I had a chance to nail it quickly and fix the problem. Then, like I said, you could be running for 90 days and then another 30 days before you even see the bill.
Yeah,
So that's what,
it's a long time.
that's
to
why
have
I'm
a
thinking
problem
Howland
going.
Lane might be part of that where he's trying for 2 quarters, but no, it's, you pick your 90 days slot, get the best that you can out of it.
Mhm.
okay, so we'll work with Stacy on how to make that happen,
Yeah, you're right, they just did it.
yeah.
So it's-
Hopefully, it's just it's a template. I mean, they don't have 3,000 bills already done.
Exactly.
That would be terrible.
Yeah, a whole case.
Yeah,
of
don't,
bills.
don't print that next batch until,
Yeah. Okay,
yeah, because that's just a blank sheet on the back of that, and then the front page is just, cut your information, so it's gotta be Before the plate on the back and then.
Yeah.
And just a little side note, just an FYI, I'm gonna be taking half a day Friday and half a day next Tuesday. I'm heading out.
That's a
to
whole day.
Yeah. I'm heading out to Chicago Friday. My son is running the Chicago Marathon.
Very
Oh,
nice.
you
Good
don't-
luck.
You don't wanna take a full day on at least Tuesday?
You know, what, with everything going on, I may change that, but right
Okay.
now I just booked in a half.
Okay.
You get some very good people backing you up, so.
I know.
Not too bad.
Is marathon on the Monday?
He's running it on Sunday.
Sunday.
And then Monday we head back. But we
Let's
don't
see,
get into
Chicago.
midnight Monday
They'll still be
night.
there. Florida might not be. Chicago.
Isn't that,
It's a
Which
general
brings me to
rule.
Tuesday's leaching field meeting. I may or may not be there for that. Next Tuesday.
All these other things they're doing.
Yeah, I'm really feeling for people down in Tampa.
that kind
Yeah,
of.
it ain't gonna be pretty. It is not gonna be pretty at all.
Yeah, the surge is gonna be rough.
So we do have a meeting on the 15th.
I believe so. Because we didn't have one this week and it's every other. Last week was a virtual.
When are we meeting next? Because this wasn't really a regular meeting.
No,
Last
we've been
Tuesday.
like meeting every week.
But then we have a public hearing coming up as well.
Right. Today's the 8th. The tentative date for the public hearing is the 29th. So do we want to meet the 22nd? Are we before the public hearing, or do we just wanna
So the
segue?
the Cushman Farms, they're looking for comment by the 21st.
Then that would be, if you want a board thing, it would be the 15th. Which would be next week, unless,
That would be a normal night.
yeah,
You know, the first.
Yeah, 22nd is the next one, so it wouldn't work that way.
yeah, so
Yeah,
The 15th and the
And then
29th?
the public hearing will be after
then the
that.
29th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we gotta post
So
it.
So
do we have
there's
a-
my half
Do we have a
day.
comment for Cushman project now or no? Or what else information we're looking for?
Should we say we have available sewer capacity if you want to discuss further with the
Yeah.
sewer commissioners?
And just, then
Office
that would be our
superintendent?
comment.
And leave it at that.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So how would you word that again? Just,
We have.
our recommendation is
Yeah.
that
You know-
if they would like to talk to us, they're more than welcome to.
We have.
Otherwise, go ahead with what you're doing.
just politically, it's an issue. I mean, just to make sure that's clear. It's politically, it's gonna be an issue with what we said at town meeting, but I think under the circumstances, it's changed dramatically.
I think it was I mean, we did say the goal was to.
Yeah.
Take care of everything.
And I was gonna write rules and regulations,
Right.
which you never got to because we
Right,
had this other
we've
stuff,
been- right,
saying this is what our policy was gonna be. And town council agreed with that was a legitimate thing to do. So this would be a change, but there's a reason for the change.
and when you look at it, it's, the project is gonna move forward with the density that they want, with or without sewer.
That's a very good point.
So it's not like we're making the project larger than it would have been otherwise. So with that, I'm comfortable with offering them capacity if they want to talk to us.
Should we put in a footnote in there that at this time, our rate structure isn't flex, and we can't, until we come up with a rate. In other words, they may want to lock in on what today's rate is.
Yeah,
And we're not doing that at the moment, anything to move forward, right?
right.
But we haven't got that number yet.
Not for betterments, we have it for
Yeah.
the user fees.
Should we?
Just say, well, say when they come and talk to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right,
If they
all right.
want to get
Yeah.
that.
I don't want to say that, yeah, we got it for you, and then they say, well, that on that date, on the 7th, you said we could have it.
Yeah.
On the 8th, and and that was what the rate was then.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we're all right, just go with
Yes,
basic.
I'll say one. That's good. Everything you said is exactly right. They're gonna get it one way or the other.
Right. In other words, we're not enabling a 40B in town,
No,
which has
that's,
always been a or any development in town has always been.
So basically,
Discussion.
we have capacity at the plant and would encourage
Yeah.
conversations if you're interested in
Yeah.
tying into the existing system.
Yeah.
Well, the source
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, that's all they're looking for is a footnote. And Paul read that out and say, well, instead of putting in this thing, you want to talk to them, and they'll say, no, we want that.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
Yeah. And when you look into the maintenance and everything of a plant that size, it may be an option for them.
That's actually, not, it's a little smaller than one at, Town and Country.
Hmm.
That's like 50, I think.
Okay,
But it's in that, in those, you're looking at 150 grand a year, upwards of 150 grand to maintain it.
without nitrogen restriction.
With, this would have to have 10.
Yes,
This would have to have 10.
Yeah.
So you're at 10. Groundwater discharge from the whole thing. It's exactly what we have. So comparable. And this is it's comparable to what we put in the ground,
Yeah.
but we maintain us with a lot of money. They may not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality of my life. DEP. That's why we have enforcement meetings all the time.
So we're in agreement. I'll send something out to 70 Summer Street saying we're gonna have to deal with somehow with this meter.
mhm,
I'll send something to Cushman's Farms saying we have capacity and would encourage discussions to tie into our town wastewater system.
Yeah.
All right,
that sounds good.
9 North,
We gave.
that one we're
Stacy
okay.
to-
I'll
yeah.
email Stacy, let her know. Okay. All right. I think that's it. On my end.
Okay. To wrap up a couple more of these with the update from the public hearing. As we found out after the fact that, setting the quarterly rate at $42.50 creates issues for final billings for the sale of properties and things like that. We can't have cents. So with that being said, we'll have another public hearing. Tentatively, right now, it's October 29th at 6:30 to discuss the quarterly fee and the effective date of the change and the flat fee, which is all included in the public hearing notice for the rates.
I mean, just off the top of my head, we went up 35% on the general population. The usage would just go up 35% on the flat rate, whatever the flat rate was that you had.
I think we can do the numbers and see if that,
Did that seem to work before? Or,
I can move.
I did that, I don't know if you saw this, and everything I said to you about.
Yeah,
bounces.
bounces back.
I saw you had 2 emails for Bill. I mean, there was one little difference and I'll try this and they bounced too, so. I did this with 4350, comes out 1450, it's an even number, we can't have cents at all.
No, that's what Stacy.
no, it would have to be 42. 42 or 45. You gotta divide it by 3 evenly.
Yeah, it's gonna be divisible by
That's the
3.
way you do it, you know.
Well, I figured 4350 divided by 3 is 40, it comes out with 50 cents though.
That's what we found out after the fact.
But this doesn't, this comes out to a weird number, okay,
You gotta be able to divide it by 3.
but
So
this
they can break it down
just,
over 30 days, so it was $15 in 30 days, 1 month. it did
so will our rate go up a little bit to compensate? We went down $1.
Well, if we go to 42, it goes down 50 cents.
Yeah, I'm saying, do we compensate on the other side with the rate go from, it goes to 1403 or does 14?
So 50 cents times 4 quarters, so it's a $2 difference in the course of a year.
It'd be $2 if there, we're losing $2. You'd have to go to 40, you'd have to go to
$2 times-
45, basically.
$2 times
Or 40.
1600.
If to divide by 3, it's either 42 or
I
45.
can't do math in my head that quick.
It's $2 times 1600.
Yes.
Yes, number of yes.
Do that from our
Right.
point, it's
Right.
it's $3,200, $3,400, something like that. I'm just saying if we made it 5 cents, or whatever the number is, just to compensate, make that, so that it comes out even. So what we voted on, the end result is to do up or down. That's all I'm saying.
I can put some.
What if you want 10 cents? How would that work? Because you could divide 60 by 3, it's 20. So it'd be
I'll put some numbers together.
I just, because I know that they need that, for some people, the reason they need that,
And
it
we'll,
has to divide by 3.
and we'll run it by them before we.
It's a
And
month.
and I would think something similar to where we were, it just doesn't create a whole stir,
Right,
because we've already gone through the discussions.
Yeah.
And I would think small increments wouldn't have changed the discussions too much.
But I can tweak
Either up
this.
10 cents or down 20.
I can, I think you've seen this, right? That little sheet.
Yes.
This, you have.
No,
seen
because
that.
then it's that half cent that they're worried about.
Yeah, so that, but this won't change much, but this is what I did just as maybe for the presentation on the, they give to anybody. So what it says is, I don't have that many. Anyways, so what I try to do is just say a little more succinctly. It's actually been 15 years. So you take the beginning of 2010 and the end of 2024, it's 15 years. So we went from 15 a quarter, that's $60 a year. Now we're at 42, which is 100, it's a little less than 174. And when you take that period, it's an effective rate on our base fee of 7.2%. It's gonna maybe tweak a little bit, but it should be 7.2, 7.1.
okay,
All right, then you go to the current rate, per 1,000 gallons is a unit, it's 1040, now we're at 14, something a little more than 03, but that's 2.1%. If you compound that over 15 years, it's 2.1%.
well,
It's less than I thought would be, when I actually do it compounded yearly. And then if you go down to a 60,000 gallon a year typical water use, right? Which is a little high for me, but that's what everyone seems to be saying.
yeah,
15,000 gallons per quarter. Before it would have been $684 under the old rate. Now it's $1,015.80. And if you take the effective rate since 2010, adding everything together, it's 3.8% total. You know, the new flat fee, the new low rate, and our inflation's been 2.8% over that same period of time. So we're right there within a small bit above that. But why that's higher is that inflation is looking at this giant pool of money. We have a bunch of things we did, accepting the expansion. There's no capital cost in it. It's just new chemicals, more details, more things to do than we were doing at the beginning. So I thought that's for discussion. I mean, to look at. But
no, I think that's good.
just when we go to the next hearing, say, here's what we did, and I'll have it corrected for what we do. But just say, here it is, and we can give it to people before that, once, so people can see it and come, for it.
Yeah, well, I think, I don't know, we were talking afterwards, I think you were in the discussion, Dave and Jean, about putting together a letter. And saying after,
You can use this.
put this in it
Yeah.
and we can say effective whatever date, November 1st, the new rate is X. And put in a little chart, 60,000 gallons, the increase is this. And pick three or four different scenarios and just mail it out to every sewer customer. That way they're gonna get it sometime, we'll say in November, give them ample time to be prepared, ample time to ask questions and get everything, this answered as we can before the actual bill gets in their hand.
Well, yeah, because we could actually send it over the water bill if we really wanted to. Water sewer bill.
We could, but honestly,
That's too far
Well,
off. It takes 30 days.
I'd like to
The
get
thing
it,
is, when all those bills come out, all the phones are gonna ring
Yeah.
to Jeannie
Right.
in that short span, as opposed to if you send this out ahead of time. They
If we get
know
this
in a
out,
timely
yeah.
manner that, hey, this is what's coming down the road.
Yeah, we get this out next
But we
week.
did send all the users.
we have to wait now till the October 29th hearing. Because we have to pick
Is
the
that
effective
right?
date and the new quarterly rate.
We don't know that yet.
We don't know the new quarterly rate because we have to have a public hearing to discuss it. To get rid of the 4250. That's the tentative October 29th meeting.
We're only doing that because the math doesn't work.
I understand all that, but I don't understand why, you think that's not gonna be agreed to?
No, but if we put out that letter now, we're assuming, we're being presumptuous what we
Right.
as a board are gonna vote.
Okay, I would say based on what we're planning on doing, that's all, just say, based on our, You know, based on our plan right now is to do this, this is what it means. If it changes, it changes. Somebody wants to change it. I mean, but getting the information out ahead of them is a lot better than going there the same day and doing it again.
Right.
So, yeah, that's all we have to do is change this proposed. That takes care of that.
Yeah, we'll see how quick we can turn around them.
Yeah, I'll fix this tonight and just get it back to Jeannie and you can all,
Okay,
whatever.
we'll see what we can get done. Okay, and what I did, I keep saying that, if the fourth tank was sold, we'd be okay. And I just did, this is what the original planning was, so there was planning done on this. It's just all fell through for the user fees. 2 tanks at 175,000 gallons a tank is 350,000 gallons per day. I used, if each tank was filled 70%, I know our cap is 80. It's 245 gallons per day, 1,000. And I never use 365 days a year. I always do less, just to be very, very conservative. So I use 265 days. Anyway, you can follow the math. That amount divided by 1,000 at the rate at the time, $10.40, would have generated $675,220 in additional user fees. So we would not have a operating budget shortfall had both tanks been filled.
I mean, 3 and 4.
Correct, 3 and 4. Correct, the new tanks. And then the second side of that is the betterment connection fees, again, the same, using 2 tanks at 175,000 at 70%, would have generated 742 additional EIUs at $22,000 apiece. Betterments would have been $16,333 and $16,333,333. The cost of the plant expansion after $4.5 million in grants was approximately $15,919,730, which would have left in overage in betterments of $413,603.
So you're saying 22,000 is a pretty accurate number
At the time, yes,
at the time.
at the time.
Okay.
So I just did the quick math, the user fees and the betterments would have generated $1,800,000-ish, $1 million. The current budget shortfall is 468, would have had a surplus of 620,000, and the leaching field debt would have been paid for as well. I just took $8 million divided by 20 years plus interest was, again, this is all ballpark, 509,000 a year.
And this doesn't include the town tax levy?
Correct. And it doesn't include septic revenue. So it is clearly not having the development, whether that be residential or commercial, to pay for this. I just need that, people need to understand that this was not, oh, let's just build it and see what happens. It was clearly enough.
And that was our commitment, that the users weren't to be paying for that part of the expansion with the new people coming in.
Exactly,
And it's true.
right,
The math is there, it's just that the circumstances were and have been over the last 4 years,
right,
very difficult for everybody.
right.
And plus moratoriums in the water department now. Nobody's building anything because the interest rates are too high.
So that's the quandary we now face, but if we can get the development back going again,
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand, because the numbers I did, without the tax levy, we're looking at $10 million. And this is postulating based on what we should have seen
yes,
we would have had that to cover the base. Okay, so it's a big swing. It's a huge, I mean, we still have 10 million, roughly 10 million. in the
Right,
hole,
I agree.
So that's where we,
I agree with your numbers completely.
yeah, okay, just making sure I'm not missing something.
No, you're not.
So it's compounding, right? Compounding. So, I mean, when I look at this, trying to get back on what we have left, you're using 742 additional year. I'm up around between 600 and 700 range.
Okay,
Just not looking at what capacity we have left, looking at it from what I know is filled,
yeah,
what I know is empty, and to go back and get out. So we have the same comparison, apples and apples. And
so you said you use 600 EIUs?
yeah, I think.
Okay, I can change that,
Yeah.
just so we're consistent.
Yeah, I had a range. It could go, depending how you look at it. Again, the capacity of the tanks and using ERUs is not simpatico. They don't work.
Yeah.
So
I
we
agree.
actually have as much as 900 capacity, right at the set, not 80%, 700,000 gallons we have. As I look at 700,000 gallons, is 70% of our permit.
Okay, yeah,
Our permit's are 1 million gallons.
Yeah.
So I know we're never gonna go over the capacity to plant the tree. We're not gonna go to the capacity to get rid of it. We have a peaking capacity. So DEP will, be fine with that, should be fine with that.
so I'll adjust this to 600, and we may have a little bit of a shortage that may have been
Yeah.
shared.
But
Yeah.
So the other thing is the leaching field debt, I think that comes in at 426.
Okay.
For the first year, and then after that,
It
it
goes like
drops.
403,
Yeah, drop.
413.
that's not in here though, right?
I just did a rough 8 million divided by 20 years plus interest. So I'll adjust this based on,
Goes down to 401 to 403. So if you went with 403, it'd probably be a good number to run with.
And how was the leaching fields in this analysis that you did? How was the leaching fields paid for?
well, based on my 742 EIUs, it would have been just paid by,
It's
The-
still up here, okay.
yeah, the third and fourth tanks being sold.
The betterment sold out.
How do you get that 509,000 debt?
I did a mortgage calculator online.
No, but where is that?
Oh, it's the $8 million for the leaching.
No, where is it up here in terms
Oh,
of?
it's not up there. It's not in the betterment connection fee.
All right, so that's my, how does that, where does it come from?
It comes from, I just brought it in down here when the user fees and the betterments. There would still be money left over.
Oh, I see what you did. Okay, I'm sorry. Now I understand it. All right, so we still had 11,000 left.
Yeah,
So so we're still back to the same dilemma. The shortfall, what this does though, it makes the budgeting, I always think in terms of to get to the end,
yeah,
but we really can do this on a couple of years at a time basis.
agreed.
All right, that's been a lot better.
I agree.
All right, so this, I get it now. But I would, for the purposes of the discussion, every time I do this with what's left.
Yeah.
We're up around 29,000, 27,000 at the lowest. The new betterment, in order to recover from this delay,
Yeah,
it goes up by 5.
okay, so which number are you using?
I use 25,000,
Okay,
okay? Because I know
so,
how everyone's, because I'm worried about selling them, if we didn't have the 10 million tax levy, it goes up to 32.
Yeah.
But if we go back to kind of what you've been doing all along, it's still 25, which is remarkably less than it should have been. And you saw my analysis. I thought we should have been 26,000, and then I got argued.
and it was the same thing.
Yeah.
You have to sell it.
You had to sell it, exactly.
Right.
Everyone's saying, no. So I said, okay,
Because, and that's good, because that would give us more of a better forecasting revenue. Whereas, 4 or 5 years ago, at 22, we were still okay. And that was mainly because of the mass work grants we got of the 4.5 million. That's what saved us to be able to have a 22,000.
at some point, I really want to talk to you about the other grant we didn't get. Get the details of that. I won't do it now, but that's bothered me like
Yeah, the
crazy. Yeah.
federal grant, they physically came out here. And they sent a representative from Philadelphia, and they sent two representatives from Washington DC.
To pull it back.
to
give it to us.
give it to
Yeah,
us.
and then pull it back.
And then it got pulled back because, development stopped. I was no longer involved in the town at that level and development was stopped. They were gonna, it was millions and millions of dollars. It was all for the leaching fields.
Hmm.
But,
Okay,
so
Yeah.
do we, anything on the warrant article?
you know, I looked at your article there.
Yeah.
I think, the one I have before them, everyone's seen it now, I just presume, so I haven't had any calls back.
Okay,
It was deemed as inappropriate by the town council, so I said, okay, so then this other idea of the audit that you and I talked about last meeting, and, we're talking about several meetings,
Right.
actually.
right,
But I get a real sense that the new accountant is really getting to understand this more.
okay.
Is that true?
She's making a very good effort
Yeah.
to wrap her head around it. What I'm looking at is with somebody independent, I shouldn't even say independent, we don't have the resources. It's Jeannie, or Dave, or, when
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
And so it's more that.
Can we do this with our own retained earnings?
We should be able to because, at the end of each article where we allocated, it says in any unforeseen expenses.
Yeah, so I would, instead of doing the article in front of
Yeah.
the selectmen, just say, let's do this ourselves.
You can do
And
that,
work, and see how far we get with, Kathy, is it?
Kathleen.
That Kathleen?
Yeah.
She must be called Kathleen, okay. Because I got a real sense in what you're back and forth and seeing that she's really getting it, and that's encouraging. And she's new, I mean, she is a fresh in a way,
Exactly, and she's actually brought more clarity than we've had in well over a year. You can disagree if you want.
No, every interaction I've had with her has been positive. I think she wants to understand everything too, because it'll help her understand her job that much better, so.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, if we need more detail, because I mean, your answers were right on, and then I had added more detail to some of your answers. Anticipating that as she looks at them, there'll be more. That's why I gave that 22,000. How do we come up with that? Well, this was one of those Connack things. It was, I looked, I said, okay, we're looking at the time, we're looking at 2020. And here it is, 1999. So, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Let me try this out. And again, 2010 was when these second tanks are gonna be built.
Yeah,
So, yeah. All right, 20, that's where I got the 26, and then I was, no, that's too much. But that time it was a lot,
yeah,
it was a lot of money.
agreed.
It's like, what would be 20 years, it would be on that order of sevens. How does that work? So that would be, at 21 years, it would be the same, it would be equivalent of something like 45,000, something like that. In that present day cost, in 22 would feel like 45, is
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's a big number, but
And pretty much in 15, we'll call it 15 years again. The original payment was 11,000, whatever. Now for this project, it was 22, it doubled.
Yeah.
So I see anybody have anything else they want to talk about?
no, I think that we just wait and this last part on the warrant is given the discussions that Dave and I had with Keith Hickey and the group that we met with, and the idea that we would look at other options for coming up with how to deal with this,
Mhm.
and have a meeting with the selectmen and us sooner than later.
Yep.
Hopefully that'll be sooner. I'll keep in touch with him and get the right people together how do we get the next 2 years figured out, and then
Right,
go from there.
okay. Mr. Pike, are you here to,
I'm actually going to the selectmen's meeting, so I just saw you sitting here. But you're not trying to put a warrant article on this current town meeting, November, all right?
We originally,
Because they're closing the warrant.
oh, yeah,
Right.
Brian's been in discussions with everybody.
Okay,
we did have a warrant proposed. I wrote up in the commission to talk about it a couple times, couple meetings, to clarify this 1/3, 2/3.
right.
But given discussions we've had, that was deemed to be inappropriate to make a long-term effect, even though it did happen. And then Elaine pointed out something important, that in fact, what Jay Talman had been saying to us, it has to be a budget decision every year going forward. It was. But the agreement was made to say it's gonna happen until we're done paying it. So that's where I have the disconnect. And if we can, with these numbers we're seeing now, we can probably avoid that. The 1/3, 2/3 might be able to go away, because we may have the right situation now with the tweaking of the rates and the tweaking of the betterment.
It all comes down to selling the tank.
I was just gonna say,
The
and all the
capacity.
new development that we know will be coming into town, not in my lifetime, but maybe in some of your lifetime.
Just to give you, this is, well, I'm changing the numbers to make them current, but this is pretty much what, again, this was calculated years ago when the project started. Thought I had my- yeah, okay. This is what, had the tanks been sold, sorry, the user fees, we would have had an additional $675,000 in user fees. The betterments, after the cost and the grants, we would have had $413,000 excess betterment revenue. And then I just did some quick estimates down here, that I have to update the Litchfield numbers, it's only $403, 403,000. But it illustrates that the planning would have more than covered had development not started. And whether it's, I'm not saying residential, I'm just saying development,
Exactly.
you know?
And it disturbs me a bit. I've told a couple of people here, when we just want to blame the current, water ban, the
Mhm.
water.
Oh, I agree.
There's a lot of other things that we could have done, but one group or another says, no, not in my town. Get
And,
me started.
well, and the
It's gonna-
town's gonna face the same thing next year, because as you know, there's no new revenue.
Yep.
And there's no excess levy capacity.
I'm dealing with, sorry. I meant to.
On the budget advisory committee this year, I'm taking a hard line. 3.5%, not a nickel more. And gonna tell the schools that, and if I can't make better headway than I did last year, I'm going the Elaine Fiore way. Goodbye, finance committee.
I welcome the company.
I'm involved with several towns, and this in particular in Braintree where I grew up. The mayor is marking time like this, but this whole thing of growth and people I go to high school with, these are people that grew up in Braintree, they live in the same house they're in, they don't want to see change. But every single town, Braintree, Holbrook, Randolph, Weymouth, Kingston, Plymouth, pick a town. I deal with them all the time. They always complain about growth, and the first thing out of their mouth is traffic.
Mhm.
It really has nothing to do with growth. And I keep trying to explain to people, where we should be putting our emphasis on is the DOT. Whether it's trains, roadways, that's the problem. Fix the road so people can go, it's.
And I take it a step further. I agree that it's traffic problems, but that's not people problems.
Right,
That when I was growing up, one car per family.
yep.
When my kids were growing up, 2 cars per family. Now that I have grandchildren, it's 3 and 4 cars per family.
Right,
That's where
Yeah.
the traffic problem's coming from.
exactly.
Carl Pike and his wife have 3 cars, the 2 drivers. So what can I say?
Yeah, but you're not driving them all at the same time.
But the issue is the gasoline cars are gonna give way to electric cars. So the cars are not gonna go away. So it's the roads. The roads gotta be more efficient. They gotta be widened. We gotta deal with this. Because we're trying to live on roads that were built by Indians and that kind of thing, and the intersections, and there's nothing like anywhere else in the world. But it's all about traffic. And I was watching the news today as people leaving Tampa. Every highway, there's not a highway in Boston that has more than 4 lanes. Tampa, 9 lanes, including 2 breakdown lanes, 7 lanes in the middle, going out of town.
California's the same way,
Yeah, it's,
except in rush hour, it's all one big parking lot.
you know,
I've always said if anything happened and you had to get out, I'm just gonna stay at the house because we never even get over the bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
If I was in
at least you
Tampa,
can use the
I would've
bathroom
been
and open
driving
your fridge.
south. I would have been driving south.
Yeah, I'd be down the Keys.
Take my chances down in Miami or
Yeah,
Keys.
oh no, yeah, once you go down beyond that belt, it's just.
Yeah. All
All
right,
right,
Good
thanks.
chatting.
good to see you.
You should.
You see Ken Stevens, I assume he's here tonight for this
Oh,
meeting.
Just so you know, this is a copy of this is the best formal final sewer plan. I don't know if I made a few of these. But this is the only one. We use this for the town meeting, but this is the only one that shows all of the connections in any Pond Estates, our new leaching field location, everything that's in the ground, including the pump stations. So it's kind of, for me anyways, at least you can go back, all these other things you're doing here. And I had taken this. Okay. This is what we had done before, trying to come up with
right.
a detailed sheet. We never got to that point. We maybe will someday. But this is how these are the zones that are on the system that need to be looked at, prioritized. And so when we go forward with flow, however we get it, this is what I want to bring up once we get, that answers those questions you just had there. How do we get those 700 people hooked up
Right.
tomorrow?
Right. Right.
And I'm gonna copy this. I made this, I finally got this from Ben this afternoon.
Where did that
Originally generated.
I had Ben put together for the town meeting.
Okay.
He took it and put it together.
Pick up
Town
the
meeting. So
whole
he added,
neighborhood.
see, he added
There's no
leaching
waiting.
field on there. See down the bottom, the green.
Yeah.
So all the new piping is in here. This is like as built almost as a schematic.
They're not part of the moratorium.
And even speaking about
They wanna
that,
keep it. So this is like an as built, probably one of yeah.
maybe it's a time to have another conversation with Town and Country,
Kind of,
Town and Country.
well, yeah. I mean, I think that's coming up. It depends on how we get this. See, if we do that kind of thing, at 2 million,
Well, like I just said to Elaine, you're looking at, you wanna go into the existing neighborhoods and say, this is,
yeah.
you
These,
know, yeah,
these are the
well,
people,
they're not under the water moratorium. They
right,
already got
that's
water.
exactly right.
You know, so it's
That's
like,
what I'm saying. Those are the ones we should prioritize. They are supposed to be hooked up.
But-
This is working with the Board of Health on where are these problems at the beach and the
Yeah.
water quality coming from? Get those people on there. And that's why this plan I done originally,
Yeah,
how many people, like, I know there's the guy who does my landscaping once in a while, I have him, he's on Howlands Lane. He just bought a house lot with a house on it and there's a vacant lot next to it, and he wants to develop that lot. I says, go for it. We have all that, we can do it now. If
Yeah.
you, it should be not part of the moratorium because it's a house lot that's existing, okay? But those are the ones that you do it now.
right.
Because these are people, if we don't have capacity, then they don't have nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go.
Right.
We're done.
This is good. I've never seen this one.
Yeah. But it has everything that's in the ground, every pump station. And then I was gonna I played with this again the other day, but so where I think we should be looking at that has a sewer there. And up here at the Plymouth Town line where the donkeys were found,
Yeah. That's a good story.
and then down, the downtown area where we had a direct discharge that was last summer. But anyways, this is, to me, that's how I think. We know exactly where it is, because this gets into, when you look at this pump station out going towards South Street,
Yep.
I mean, one of the things that Keith came up with is the town buying some rights.
Oh, yeah.
This would be something we talk to the water department and say, okay, I mean, if we do this and the town buys. You're not solving not Town and Country, but Conifer Green, not solving their problem. They have to pay. But to get the pipe out there in front of them might be a town thing to protect the well.
Yeah.
And if it's in the ground, they have to hook it up. But if it's not there, they can say, well, you don't have anybody to go, but.
Yeah.
So it's a water department question. I have a couple of things on them. That's about, that's another $2 million right there.
Well, there was conversation years ago about buying capacity for the Maple Old Fire Station.
Yeah.
That the town could sell that with capacity, and it never got any, support. But that's another thing.
But see, we're at a point now where town of Kingston, we're at the end. We have a budget deficit. We want to sell everything we had proposed 25 years ago
Yeah,
in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Get in line. And if you're not in, my feeling is if you're not on that list and you're not done, we have 5 projects that'll fill that in no time. Just, the interest
Yeah.
rates are coming down, things are getting better, all that's
I
gonna,
agree.
money's gonna start, demand's gonna be back.
Right, I agree. And to your point, we just have a couple of years hurdles to get over because it was, at least for the first year, that we would use some of the free cash or the septic revenue to pay any shortfall. Because the anticipation was everybody's building and then in another year, we'd be up and running and solving.
Plus that 1.6 million, now that you've found out that at least 1.6 and change is there, sitting there.
Yeah,
That helps with the deficit over the next couple of years, big time, I would think.
Yeah.
So,
we can draw down on that if we have some commitments to fill it, because the 1.6 million, I'm making up the number, that the apartments, say their betterment's 50,000 a year, would have been the 50,000 subtracted from the 1.6 million over 30 years. But if we have capacity sold, we can draw down some of that, knowing we're gonna get this back in.
but that's
To
an interest bearing
replace
account too, 1.6 million with 2% or whatever, if we can get interest on that money,
Well, that's another thing we have to look at,
I
that
mean, that's huge.
we,
We could run on that.
At 4%, that gives you what, 60,000 a year
Yeah.
I
anyway?
was going through a lot of my emails and I found an email from my last spring. We questioned us getting interest on our enterprise fund. And apparently we used to get it once a month, but it was changed to once a quarter. But I don't know where that is. I don't see that
Yeah,
in
so
our
that-
revenue
yeah.
report. So that's gonna be another thing in addition to past user fees from the town and where's our interest every year
Yeah.
on our revenue accounts.
Hopefully Kathleen can snub that out and figure it out for us, because
You
she
should have
she
hired
seems to
in the
be
last 3 years.
finding a lot of the information she's been looking
Yeah.
for.
I mean, if it's even if it's $20,000 a year, that's a lot.
Yeah, but like I said, 4% is a reasonable number on a
4%
municipal.
million's 40,000, so
Yeah.
1,600,000, you gotta be 60.
Yeah.
Looking at $60,000 a week, that's a lot of money.
Right.
With what we're dealing with.
Exactly.
And
So it's pulling all our pieces together and,
I think working with her, particularly, the accountant types, you guys, this is making me feel a lot better, about it's all over the place.
We have immediate needs, we have a lot to rein in, and we have a lot of things to figure out, while hopefully some growth starts
right,
rolling, but it's gonna be a perfect storm for a few years.
that's right, I do.
Well, it's much better. I feel much better seeing that 1.6, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's we can really use that carefully. And when these rates start coming in, that takes care of the immediate threat there. And I mean, I'm looking at maybe 3 years from now, we need to do this again for the rates, but that's not like next year necessarily
Right,
with a significant, we'll see how the revenues work out, but
and that's it. I mean, a few years, we may have to use not all our free cash, but some, just to take the edge off.
But, going with Keith in the planning department, to get anyone on Route 3 who's a business that has a high, like a hotel or a restaurant. I always say this, except for one restaurant, the Dunkin' Donuts up on Joseph Street near the fire station. Every other restaurant that's here in this town is on the sewer. And the only reason they're still here and have been able to grow in spite of COVID is because of the sewer. That's a reality.
Yeah.
You think about the sewers, it's really important. And except for that, they're not too greasy either, right?
No, we've got a pretty low grease content.
Is the Chinese restaurant on the sewer?
I
Yeah,
don't think so,
Tremont
because
Street.
Tremont Street
Yeah.
is an
I
8.
remember doing that. I remember the one thing that we said is that grease trap has to be 3 times bigger than anybody else.
Okay.
That's the biggest problem with Chinese restaurants, grease. Oh, it's wicked. Unbelievably terrible.
I never would have thought that.
It's all that walk stuff. It's all, it's
Oh,
constantly
okay.
throwing grease.
Oh,
And there's, they never wash the pans.
okay.
So there's no soap in with the grease.
Oh,
See? If you really think about it, they don't want to clean it. They keep cooking on the same pan. All the
Yeah.
grease goes over here. They may save it some, but most of the time it goes over because you can't reuse it. It's all these little food particles, unless they filter it or whatever. So it goes down the sink. So you have to put a really good, oil water separator, grease trap.
Grease traps, yeah.
And it solidifies and they're pumping it out like every couple of days. And if you didn't do that, and if they use soap, both of them, then it starts going down the pipe, disassociates. Now there's grease clumps everywhere. But that's why it's actually, we say, don't use the soap. Don't touch the soap.
interesting.
Yeah, so that would feed into New Summer down by McDonald. We call it New Summer. And that doesn't have a grease problem.
Yeah, so it's because they're taking it out. I mean, my wife and I would go to Muffin, the Blueberry Muffin there, and
Yeah.
almost every time we go, there's a pumper in the driveway at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Just to let you know, the Stop and Shop Mall, they've bought extra capacity. Big Y, that complex bought extra capacity. Across the street, Cranberry Crossing, I think that's the name of it, they
Yeah.
bought extra capacity. So right down the whole strip, they've got extra capacity, and this Summer Street project, he bought extra capacity when it became available, so and
Good.
all they need to do is build something and we'll get user fees, you know?
That's the downside of them buying it and then not using it.
Right,
But at least it puts us in a better situation.
Yeah.
Selling these, the betterments. If we're doing that 26,000, I don't know if we should even change that. I don't know, is that worth changing at the next meeting?
yeah, but we can
You
check.
know, it's not as, we're not looking at 32. I was worried, this big change, but if it's reasonably to 4,000 beyond where we were, we might want to add that to
Yeah.
because it's a whole new, makes it more productive. Just start off 22,000, 26,000.
Yeah,
that-
definitely compete with septic systems, so 26.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
28, somewhere in that range.
All right,
and that's without the nitrogen issues that are gonna be
Yeah.
coming down the pipe.
Which,
Yeah.
right now, some communities on the Cape are being hit with that.
Yeah.
It hasn't hit the mainland yet, and it hasn't hit all the Cape either, but it's hit a majority of it.
Is that on
I'm
individual
all over
sites?
the Cape, because I bled a lot with DEP, with the Cape, with the whole Title V redo and how to get those guys going ahead, and they played games. And now they're really hurting. Mashpee's is a big trouble. They've lost 3 lakes.
Really?
Yeah, they're
Yeah, with cyanobacteria.
cyanobacteria and just overly eutrophicated from wastewater. And they had 30 years. DEP really pushing me going down there, meeting with these guys. And I'll never forget the plant director. He says, you'll never see this town do it. You'll never see it. Because they had New Seabury giving them all this money and they had their own wastewater plant. And so they said, that takes care of it. I said, well, yeah, they're right on the ocean. You guys are all back over here. All the lakes on this side of their treatment plant. They're going that way. And they go, well, we don't care. There can't be that many. And all of a sudden, whoop, they're all green. I mean,
Well, there used to be summer cottages, and now a lot of those things on the lake are permanent year-round residents.
With no swimming.
Changes.
I mean, it's like pea soup. There's one, Mashpee Wakeby Pond is ready almost to go that way. It used to be a great fishing place. This Pimlico Pond is green in winter as it is in the summer. It's got a setgy disc reading like this. It's just putrid green and it stinks because everything's dying and it's like hydrogen sulfide. This summer with all the heat we had, it's just not good. And they're all over the place.
Who wants to be the one to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.